Are you ready to get casual? Grab your favorite adult beverage or combustible plant and join us for our roundtable TTRPG discussion. Oh yeah, it's time for Casual Friday. And now, here are your hosts.
What's up? I'm Jim. That's Brad. That's Ryan. I forgot that the intro was going to automatically play, but that's fine. Today's a very special episode of Casual Friday. I'm glad I put that image up to obscure Brad's illicit beverage consumption. All
Incredible
right.
Foley work. I'm so proud of us.
Incredible Foley work. I'm Jim. That's Brad. That's Ryan. I think I said that already. But hey, we are going to do the show now where we talk about news happening in the TTRPG industry, and we are here to cover it. So, the first thing we're going to cover is another journalist's work. The Cosmere game is out and it's been reviewed. And what I didn't realize before was that the Mistborn game came out a long time ago. I thought that Mistborn was part of this and that Cosmere was one overarching rule set, and then there would be rules for Mistborn and there would be rules for Stormlight Archive, but no, that's not the case. The Cosmere game specifically refers to Stormlight. This Mistborn thing is kind of misleading. Because Mistborn is a game that came out in like 2010 and has had a few supplements, and they said they're going to be updating its rules to make them compatible. A couple things I wanted to note here. The Cosmere game, it says D20 based ruling system with advantage and disadvantage, but advantage and disadvantage can stack. So 2 stacks of advantage will cancel out 1 stack of disadvantage. Oh, I could see that being chaotic at the table. It says complication dice taken from Genesis. Armor reduces damage taken from Shadow of the Demon Lord. 3 action turns like Pathfinder. Fast turns with Shadow of the Demon Lord. So Cosmere does a fast round, slow round. But if you do slow round, you get all 3 of your actions. If you do fast round, you have to sacrifice 1 of them. Which, I don't know, that might work. I'd like to see it. The other thing I've found very interesting in here, it says the Cosmere game emphasizes diplomacy, negotiation, and exploration as much, if not more, than combat. Isn't that what all the haters said Daggerheart was going to be?
Yeah.
I don't know, but if you look at all the Daggerheart cards, if you spread them all out, look at all the abilities, most of them are combat abilities. So that whole thing turned out to be a myth, that Daggerheart was going to be the touchy-feely feelings game. Is Cosmere the touchy-feely feelings game? I don't know. Brando Sando's book's a lot of action.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of games say this. A lot of games say that they're gonna have social and exploration, like, because that's one of the big criticisms about D&D. Like, D&D has never had really great social rules or exploration rules. And Coville's game, Draw Steel, their early playtest stuff had social interaction rules that were pretty robust, and a lot of people who playtested it didn't like, and those got trimmed down considerably. So I don't know. I think this is what you just say. You have to say you're going to have social rules and you're going to have exploration rules, because that's the big criticism, that D&D doesn't have those things. So you have to say that you're going to. But when you actually play test it out, you don't need them. Because it's a role-playing game. And we role-play the social stuff, and we role-play the exploration stuff.
Yeah, I like a little more robustness in my exploration. I don't think anyone's really looking for social combat. People think they do until they try it. I'm like, I don't want a persuasion skill anymore. Really, right? Like, yeah, you present a convincing argument, the guy's gonna buy it or he's not. Yeah, I think it's mostly marketing ad copy, and the fact that all of these games are so combat heavy, balanced in the scales, that like if you're remotely adjusting towards 50-50 compared to D&D 5th edition, you get to say that.
Nacho's
not,
question is interesting.
oh, Nacho has the right of it here. I remember one section in Mistborn where there's like a 15-page chase sequence with almost no dialogue, and that's a long chase sequence, but it was exciting. So, go ahead, Brad.
Oh, I mean, he asked, "Is Cosmere going to end up being the well, actually, lore players game?" Right? Because the, I mean, I would be intimidated to DM this game
Mhm.
because I haven't read. I think I don't think I've read more than one of his books. Um, so, like, how do you run a game if you don't know all the lore like that? I feel like that would be a barrier to some people.
The most interesting thing that I learned from this article was that he's going to be writing modules, adventures. I don't know exactly what the verbiage is, but it's going to be canon. Like he's writing stuff, he's gamifying things that like got cut from the books essentially. So like you're going to experience canon. Does that mean it's going to be a very railroady game? I mean, there's like battles off screen, um, and like a lot of history involved. I mean, most of my no, I read a little Stormlight too. Yeah, I've only read 4 books, so I 400-page books, so I have no right to talk about his canon at all. It is very intimidating. But yeah, it is interesting. I think that's going to be a big selling point for a lot of Sanderson fans, at least. I think that's going to keep people coming back to this game. If Brandon Sanderson is the one producing narrative content for it, I think
100,
that'll get people involved.
100%. Fans are gonna buy this up who never intend to play the game just because they're gonna want to see in-world stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, some people are just collectors and completionists, right? So
Hmm.
they're going to want to read these modules. They're going to want to read these game books just so they can say they've read everything that he's written. Some
Yeah, I
people,
have a sorry.
go ahead.
I have an author friend, Chris Fox, who wrote a book series called the Magitech Chronicles, and he turned those into a TTRPG. It's Magitech something. The game is not different, but it's Magitech, and he says that most of his like he takes the game to author conferences, and people was like, "Oh, I bought that," and they've never played it. So he says a lot of the people that he sells his box sets and his Magitech rule sets to are people who are just fans of his military sci-fi stuff.
Hmm.
Twin Steel, you know Magitech? Yeah. Chris Fox is a friend of mine. He's a good dude.
Twin Steel mentions the Star Wars Z20 game, and
Hmm.
I ran that back in the day, back before the prequel trilogy came out, like shortly before the prequel trilogy had come out. Um, and like Twin Steel says, I didn't know all the lore from the novels, the expanded universe stuff, but I I ran a campaign. Interesting thing though, the well actually happened, um, because I was running the game post Return of the Jedi, where like the Empire was trying to recover and rebuild from the events of Return of the Jedi, and I actually had a plot where this Imperial admiral was making clones in order to make new stormtroopers. And my player was like, well, actually, I don't think the Empire would ever use clones. And then episode 1 came out, and like, oh, we're going to get a whole series of movies about Clone Wars. Um, so that was kind of a funny, kind of validating moment.
Well, your friend was not as much of a fan as they thought because the Clone Wars are mentioned in the original Star Wars movie.
Right.
Yeah. So that has been canon since 1977.
Exactly.
All
I
right,
love
so
dunking on nerds. Take that,
take
nerds.
that, nerd. Exactly. All right, so so moving on. The next thing that we are going to talk about is Power Word Meal. If you know anything about D&D and YouTube, then you probably know who D&D Shorts is. Will from D&D Shorts has taken a very large step over the last probably year or so in that he's giving away most of what he makes on YouTube to charity. which if you know is not actually that much. It's not like he's giving away $1 million a year, but he spends a lot of time on his channel, and to just give any profits he might make from it to charity is a big deal, because he's making these channels is not easy. It takes a lot of friggin' work, and to give that away is a pretty big deal. So he started this Power Word Meal, which is giving food to the poor. And I did not read this. I didn't consent to read the mail, so I didn't get the PDF. You have to leave this box checked that says, yeah, they can email you, which I didn't. So I don't know what's in the PDF.
I'll ask Will for you to send one.
An epic one-shot adventure and a new playable species for Pathfinder and D&D. So you get some freebies. Also, you get to there's some suggested amounts, but you can type in whatever you want. Give some money to people who are in need.
You donated 80 cents, Jim?
I have no idea why it defaults to 80 cents. Let's see if it does that again. Oh, yeah, look at that. Interesting. Even if I erase it, type in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oops.
Oh, be careful.
Oh, no, it does remember. Huh. I did not give 80 cents. Every cent counts. That's right, Mike. All 80 of my cents are going to a good cause. So I don't know if you guys have anything to say about that, or should we move on? That is sharethemeal.org. And we will try to get a link in the chat or something.
Yeah, I think so... Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, it's so easy to get caught up in the food fightiness of it all, and hate on Hasbro and conspiracy theories about Critical Role getting money from them or whatever the hell. And it was very cool to see people kind of have an awakening around the OGL. Will, in particular, was well connected, became a journalist by accident. It was interesting to watch that transformation. And he's navigated very well. I'm going to talk about these things, and I don't necessarily want to profit off of talking about these things, so I guess I'll do charity. And to see that have grown to this, and how awesome this community is. I mean, 25,000 meals is far from nothing. That is an impact that is making the world a better place. Straight up. No notes. Good job.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what I was going to say, right? It's easy to get caught up in our hobby and focus on all the drama and the infighting that kind of happens in our hobby. But this is a great opportunity to bring folks together and make an actual impact and help other people. It's cool.
Indeed. So consider supporting. All right, moving on. We are going to cover some new UA that dropped. We're not going to go fine-tooth comb over every little single thing. But I do. So this new UA has the Arcane Archer, the Tattooed Warrior Monk, the Conjurer Wizard, Enchanter Wizard, Necromancer Wizard, and Transmuter Wizard. Which I think all of these have appeared in previous, after last appearance. Yeah. So all of these were in previous UA. Starting with the Arcane Archer. Let's see what it says. The curving shot has been revised to use the same ammunition but a new attack roll. Magical ammunition is a new feature that grants magical effects to your ammunition that can be used outside of combat. Ever ready shot and available at a later level, but always regains one expended arcane shot. Arcane burst is a new feature that grants an additional effect to Indomitable. Masterful shots has been redesigned and now allows you to reposition and attack. And I looked at magical ammunition, which I think is pretty cool. So darkening shot lets you cast darkness. Unlocking shot lets you cast knock. And then this vine shot is pretty interesting. That's more of a new feeling kind of thing. Just lets you create a ladder wherever you want. Any thoughts on the Arcane Archer?
I'm kind of excited to see them iterate on this. When the Arcane Archer originally came out, was that in Sword Coast? I can't remember.
Maybe.
Or Xanathar's.
I think Xanathar's.
Yeah, my daughter tried to play the Arcane Archer, and it was woefully inadequate. I had to do some homebrew to make it, really play well. So I'm glad to see that it's back and that they're doing a better job this go around.
I feel like it's still not good. I mean, I did the deep dive on this. I wrote elaborate notes, and they say Marshall's bad, Wizard's good. Like, why? I don't know. This could be so cool, and it seems like there's so many opportunities. But I feel like we're gonna take these arrows and these tattoos and just make them into magic items that Wizard players are gonna want instead. So it's better.
Do you think it's hard to design for the fighter class because the base class is so good that the subclass stuff it's hard to get it to work well?
Maybe. I think you have to. I think the way they think about Arcana is that it's int based. And I think a lot of it is you are giving them a third stat to care about. And now all this stuff is proccing off of intelligence, and it's similar to the Arcane Trickster's problems, but the Arcane Trickster, I think, is more robust. But making the fighter care about int, and then just making the wizard better at being a druid than the druid is, it doesn't feel balanced over the whole system. It's following a rule that they've established, but not zooming out to the wider world. I think attaching it to proficiency or fighter level would go a lot further. There is like, oh, you get one every fight in case you don't have one, which is kind of an acknowledgement that they're not providing you with enough of the resource, but giving you out of combat ways to use it while they're not giving you a lot of shots, literally. There's strain in that system for me.
Well, the fighter is always there's all the half casters are basically fighter plus one other thing. So it's hard to give the fighter interesting and creative things without directly stepping on the toes of a lot of other classes, I think.
So strongly agree, but we're about to see a wizard that's a better druid. So they're not afraid to do that for wizards.
And one thing, in Baldur's Gate 3, the Arcane Archer gets a ranged disarming attack, which is dope as hell. I don't know why we can't do that in 5e. Arcane Archer is very fun in Baldur's Gate 3. I never played one in 5e, but I believe Brad when he says it's woefully underpowered. So the Tattooed Warrior Monk, they changed before the tattoos just gave everyone spells, which no one liked. So instead of spells, now they just give spell-like effects, basically. They give effects that are the same things. Beast tattoos grant a cantrip. Celestial tattoos been redesigned. More focus points. Nature tattoos been condensed to provide damage resistance. Monster tattoos redesigned. So now basically the third level stuff is the same. You get a bat gives you dancing lights. Butterfly gives you light. Crane gives you guidance. Horse message. Tortoise spare the dying. And the problem with that is that when you're a monk, if you're doing anything other than punch with your action, it's really a waste of your whole action economy, A monk is never going to use their action to cast a message. That's just crazy talk. It would never happen. Celestial Tattoo, then you can basically, it's like superiority dice. You spend a point to add your die to things. Then Nature Tattoo, you get resistances. And then I do like this. Monster Tattoo at 17th level. If you choose Beholder, you spend a point to get a fly speed. And then after that, you can spend a point to have basically what's an Eldritch Blast, but with a D12. Because it's level 17, your monk die is going to be a D12. So you're doing 1d12 plus 5 4 times for one focus point. 120 feet, force damage, which is better than Eldritch Blast. Thoughts on the Tattooed Warrior?
Yeah, I feel like one of the best designs for the monk was the what was the radiant one?
The
Um,
Sun Soul, what
yeah,
was it called?
I think so. Um, and I don't know why you can't just use that type of design, but where so you're just kind of blasting stuff. Because it effectively was like just using your melee abilities at short range instead of 5 feet away. Um, but it was you were technically you were shooting rays of sunlight or whatever. Um, I feel like that was one of the best designed monk subclasses. So I don't know why you can't just kind of riff on that and just kind of reflavor that design for different types of tattoos. I don't know.
Seems like a lot of these subclasses are designed to monk subclasses are designed to give you ways to side load your way into a ranged monk. But like, do we need a ranged monk? Do we need it? Isn't a ranged monk called a ranger?
uh, yeah,
I
I think that's the whole problem with subclasses is that like once you get more than 4 or 5 of them, you get all that overlap that Ryan was talking about before, and you got a wizard who's a better druid than the druid, and you get um, you know different a warlock who's a better healer than the cleric. It's just I don't know. Um, that might just be a flaw in the whole subclass concept.
I think it's the illusion of abundance, right? Like you have so many because that's what they sell to people that like the definition becomes so blurry that like if I describe it to you as like, is this a monk? Is this a ranger? Is this nope? It's a wizard. It's always a wizard. Uh, but looking at this one particularly, because like this is so cool flavor wise. I'm like mad at this one particularly because I want this to work. I want a dope arcane archer. I want a tattooed powered martial artist. Like those are so cool to me conceptually and
Mhm.
fall so flat compared to other things that are out there that I would like to see, and I don't know if it would work ever, but having a more like curated like for this module, I mean, they do it to a degree, but for this module, these are the subclasses. And they'll package things so, like, here's 3 or 4 subclasses for 3 or 4 particular classes. But for having a balance between just like if this is the monk that you run in this adventure, and that is at parity to the wizard that you're running in this particular adventure, people would rebel. Obviously, you're an evil dungeon master if you perform any sort of restriction on any sort of option. I want to play the same dual wielding cat person I've played in every campaign since 1986, and you're a bad person if you don't let me. Okay, fine. But I'm just saying, it could be cool to have a more curated, focused experience some of the time, and that actually
Mhm.
might make these weaker subclasses a little more in balance.
Mhm.
But it's
Yeah,
personal.
I had an initial criticism of Shadow Dark when I first saw their zines, and so I was like, "Wow, they are making way too many classes for this game." That was my initial reaction. But then I realized, like, the way Kelsey was putting it together is each zine is like an area of her world, and the 3 classes that you get in the zine are these are the types of warriors or casters that are relevant to this region. So you can, if you want to just do a whole kitchen sink thing as a DM and just tell your players you can use any class from any Shadow Dark supplement, and you have like 2 dozen classes, over a dozen classes to choose from, or but the way it's written is like these classes live in this region of the world. So if you're in the desert, you've got the pit fighter and these other couple of classes to choose from. If you're in this dark forest part of the world, then you have like the witch and this like evil knight kind of thing to choose from, whatever it is. But I think I like her structure in that because it's kind of implied, right? The way Ryan is saying it. Like Shadow doesn't say you have to do it that way, but it's heavily implied by the structure of the zines that that's the intention of, these classes are for this region, so forth and so on.
All right, moving on. The Conjurer Wizard. Benign Transportation is now a bonus action. Durable Summons now gives summon creature resistance to multiple damage types. Splintered Summons is a new feature that allows you to summon a second creature with a big asterisk when you cast one of the summoning spells listed. So Benign Transportation, you can teleport 30 feet, int mod times per day, or swap. Then the Durable Summons, blah, 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 temporary hit points, resistant to everything while it has them. Then Splinter's Summon starts off sounding really cool. When you summon any creature that uses a spell slot, you can summon 2 creatures instead, but they each have half the hit points. Still pretty cool, though. I think having 2 creatures last for 1 round versus a creature last for 2 rounds, I guess we could debate the action economy pros and cons of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. What do you all think of the Conjurer Wizard?
I think that might be interesting design, like making that choice. Like it's kind of a tactical choice to say, I want, 2 creatures that have hit points instead of 1 creature at full hit points, but only have those creatures for a shorter amount of time. I mean, I can't really comment on it without actually having played it at the table, but I think that's an interesting tactical choice to make.
In my experience, summoned creatures are often acting more like tanks, which puts the dungeon master in a very awkward position of like, all right, is this enemy, smart enough to be like, well, if I kill that squishy wizard, this illusory dragon thing goes down with him. There's no aggro in D&D, so like the dungeon master has to actively decide to not hit the PCs. So yeah, I don't know. I like options. I like choices. I like cost and benefit. I don't like more things on the table that make turns take longer, especially at high level combat. So that's me.
I mean, side note, the players summoning creatures and having too many things to manage at the table. The best way to solve that problem is get your players to DM.
Mm-hmm. Well, they've changed that in 5.5 in 2024, right? Most of the summons are like a blob of creatures instead of multiple creatures now.
But anybody who's DM'd for a little bit and is used to running multiple creatures can handle having multiple creatures as a player. That's been my experience. So, I mean, maybe you just make a rule at your table that you can't play a summoner until you've DM'd a few sessions.
You gotta level up as a player.
You gotta get your punch card punched a couple more times.
Unlock. I feel like it's a talent. It's like a skill question, and it's also an innate awareness of pacing. Like once you have felt responsibility for keeping things moving and fun and interesting, and actually zooming out to consider everyone at the table as a collective. Like I'm at a stage in my life where like I really only want to play with dungeon masters.
I hear that.
If you've never run the game, I don't want you at my table anymore. And that really conflicts with the side of me that's like, give me all the new people. I want to bring everybody in.
Yeah. Any more thoughts on the Conjurer?
Marshall's bad, Wizard's good.
There's Ryan dipping again into his extensive notes. So the Enchanter Wizard, Hypnotic Presence, replaces Vexing Movement and has been redesigned to use concentration, freeing up your actions on subsequent turns. It still does give you the vapors. Split Enchantment is available at an earlier level. Instinctive Charm returns and is designed to turn a hit against you and a miss, with the new potential to redirect the attack on a target. Alter Memories returns and has been redesigned to allow Modify Memory to target multiple creatures. I didn't look at this one at all. Is this good or bad?
I don't
I
know.
want
this one.
I want to play it. I don't want it on my table, but I love to play it. Feels a little OP.
Hypnotic presence.
I think there's a sweet spot there, Ryan, that where like you want a new subclass to excite a player, and the players say, "I want to play it," but you don't want the DM to have that reaction that you just said, like, I don't want somebody to play this at my table, right? That should be the litmus test, right? Show it to a bunch of players. Do they get excited? Show it to a bunch of DMs. Are they not afraid? Those are your two goalposts. Get the ball between them.
Skip turn, like so many dungeon masters pull punches to not skip a player character's turn because it sucks. Handing out the ability for players to skip monsters' turns, super appealing to the players. But I don't know. Dungeon masters need to have fun too, or I don't know. You'll have a dungeon master shortage that has made national news time and again somehow.
Yeah.
All right. So I don't have anything else to add here about this. The Necromancer Wizard. Necromancy spellbook now lets you use Find Familiar to summon a skeleton or zombie, which just seems obvious, right?
Yeah.
Imagine over the last 4 decades how many Necromancer Wizards have flavored their cat familiar as just a skeleton cat anyway. Undead Thralls is being redesigned to use Animate Dead. Harvest Undead has been redesigned to restore hit points to you and you destroy an endeavor creature. Death Master now allows you to create death bursts of necrotic energy. Yeah, so this one gets the gem stamp of approval just because, yeah, obviously you should be able to have a skeleton or a zombie familiar.
Yeah.
That's all I really have to say about it.
This is the one I paid the most attention to because I just like necromancers. I mean, who doesn't? If you don't, I don't trust you. So, but yeah, I mean, it looks good. I would play this, and it hits that goalpost for me, right? Like I would play this as a player, and it doesn't scare me as a DM.
I am in love with necromancers. So Brad, you can trust me. 2, I'm kind of okay with them being on the OP side of things because I think that gets counterbalanced by the fact that like in game, no one trusts you and everybody hates you. Because like if you just roll into town with your zombie butler, people are going to treat you differently. And that associated cost is always going to be there. So like, yeah, you can make your zombie explode, healing you in the process. Like, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll give it to you. But like, woo, you're not going to bring him into the tavern without getting some looks.
Yeah. I just want to say I'm honored. Ruin Hammer is in the chat. That's exciting for me. I've been following his channel from the beginning. Awesome. Glad to have you here.
Hammer.
Hey, buddy.
Welcome. I think. Oh, and then we have the Transmuter Wizard. Transmuter Stone now gives the bearer prof and Constitution saving throws in addition to another benefit. Can also be used as a spellcasting focus. Wondrous Alteration replaces Wondrous Enhancement and grants benefits to the altar self. Empowered Transmutation replaces Twin Transmutation. Potent Stone now grants additional options for the Transmutation Stone. Shape Changer returns, allowing the Wizard to modify the polymorph spell when casting it on themselves. Master Transmuter now allows you to prevent the stone's destruction by expending a spell slot. And I believe this is the more druid than druid that Ryan was referring to a few minutes ago. What do you guys think about this, Ryan? I'm guessing you have some thoughts.
The marshals are bad and the wizards are too good. Yeah, I mean, cool. Like narratively, so cool. I'm here for it. You got a wizard who can transform into anything they want because they got the formula for the Philosopher's Stone finally, and they've been collecting the phosphorus from their pee for the last 3-4 decades. Like, yeah, man, I'm here for it as long as it's commensurate with the rest of the game. But if you're nerfing Moon Druid because you realized it was OP and screwed up everything else at the table. And now you're like, oh, but here, you have a magic rock that lets you turn into anything in the monster manual. I just feel like I can do a lot to balance monsters to players. I can do nothing to balance the PCs. So if someone shows up with a overpowered optimized thing and someone else just started, they're like, Arcane Archer sounds cool because I want to shoot magic arrows. Like, oh man, do I have a lot of work to do to make sure they're having remotely equal amounts of fun?
Yeah.
Indeed, Mike, it is the truth.
There are some ways as a DM you can kind of balance, character classes, right? You can give out magic items to certain players. I mentioned in a previous show where, like, when I first started running, I was so used to previous editions that I wasn't allowing space for short rests, which really nerfed the warlock. So I was actually giving warlocks, better magic items, kind of, subversively, not to look like I was playing favoritism, but I was trying to make the warlock better for the type of game that I was running at the time. But I mean, ultimately, game balance is a red herring, right? Like, I don't know. I don't care that much about game balance, and it's never bothered me as a DM. So, but I mean, from armchair quarterback kind of position, like here on the show, yeah, I want to kind of dissect this and talk about how these designs could be better. But as a DM, once we're at the table and we're rolling dice, you're ad-libbing things, you're making stuff up at the table, and if you're focused on pacing and keeping the session moving, I feel like a lot of those game balance problems go out the window.
Indeed.
Accurate, but then what would I yell about?
So, in conclusion, on the UA, Marshall's bad, Wizards too good. Now, moving on, the next thing that we're going to talk about is I've mentioned a few times on this show that I've been playing in a Dungeon of the Mad Mage campaign for the last almost 4 years, and we are almost done. We ended our last session a little bit early because we had arrived. The DM said the bad guy is on the other side of that door. This is it. And so the next session, the final battle begins. All the monologuing, all the everything begins. But I've put together a little presentation that I'm calling Lessons from a 5e, 5 to 20th level campaign. It's pretty short. I'm not going to bore you with long stories about things that happened, I promise. But so first of all, let me tell you about the PCs I played. The first PC I played was a half-elf monk named Murphy that I played from levels 5 to 9. And early, overpowered, late, underpowered. That is my executive summary on the monk, because at level 5 and 6, even into level 7, Stunning Strike was just blowing apart encounters. It would be pretty common for a fight to be like a wizard in the back and then some goons out front, and my monk had so much movement speed, I could just run around the goons, send that wizard to sleep for 6 seconds, and then just stand there. Well, I'll just wait till the wizard wakes up and I'll send him back to sleep while the rest of the party kills all the goons. And, eventually the DM started giving the baddies magic resistance and stuff like that. And then by the time everyone else is slinging 4th and 5th level spells, my Stunning Strike, working only half the time, felt very, very underpowered, right? Because if Stunning Strike doesn't work, the monk's not doing enough damage, at least in the 2014 rules, which we were playing with. The monk doesn't do enough damage to make up if Stunning Strike doesn't go off. Then, from levels 9 to 13 and 18 to 20, this is my Halfling Genie Warlock Pinch. If you're wondering why there's 2 pictures over there, I'll explain that in a minute. Pinch was who I would consider to be my main character, and what I learned from playing the Halfling Genie Warlock, you know how people are always like, why do I have 2 spell slots as a Warlock, blah, blah, blah. The key to loving Warlock is accepting that Eldritch Blast is your main tool, and that spell slots are for mobility and utility, not for damage.
Mhm.
My favorite thing to do around like level 9, 10, 11, 12 would be as I would cast Far Step, which lets you teleport 60 feet as a bonus action. And then I'm just zipping all around, pew-pewing, Eldritch Blasting. Very fun. If you're trying to use your spell slots for Ray of Enfeeblement and Fireball and stuff, it's not going to work. It's just going to be frustrated. Um, and also, the Genie Warlock has a Genie Vessel, which you can go into, which was an amazing problem solver. Time and time again, we used this to like, everyone would go into my Genie ring. He was a gangster, so he was a pinky ring. We'd go into his pinky ring, and then we'd have a familiar transport us, or we could hide somewhere. Very great. If you're wondering why there's two pictures over there, the top left one is the original Pinch Prime, and then at some point in the campaign, I got a Staff of the Magi, and I started wearing red robes and a fake beard, and I insisted everyone call me Pinch Dolph for about a dozen sessions. Um, and I even tried to infiltrate a mage's college, but I got caught, and I had to escape. I was trying to pretend to be a wizard, but they found me out. Okay, so next...
I've also had a warlock character at my table. I wasn't playing them, but in a long-running campaign, a warlock, the bard didn't know the difference between warlock and wizard, and it kind of stuck. So I've also seen a lot of warlocks being like, "Yeah, I'm a wizard, whatever."
Well, and I can second that point because I've got a player who mains warlock. Like 2 out of 3 of his characters are warlocks. We've been playing for years. And yeah, that's exactly how he plays his warlock. Eldritch Blast and Hex are kind of his key damage dealers, and then everything else, like you said, mobility, utility. And he always tries to pick the weirdest utility spells he can and try to get creative with them, and he just loves doing it. It always leads to a cool moment at the table.
Yeah. Next, I played a Harengon Echo Knight Fighter, just briefly. This was just for just a small number of sessions, named Trip.
So you could pull a rabbit out of the hat? Is that?
Well, there were bunny jokes galore. So the Echo Knight, super duper fun in gridded combat because the 2-token maneuvers open up all kinds of battle strats that are just very fun. Because you can do things like switch position with your Echo, and attacks can come from either place. You can do really interesting stuff. And in fact, we almost TPK'd because your Echo is immune to all conditions, and that was the only reason our entire party wasn't grappled and dropped into a volcano. Because Echoes are immune to being grappled, so he couldn't be grappled. So then I traded places with him, and then I was outside the problem and was able to, yeah. And also, Harengon, A+ species for silly roleplay. So many bunny jokes. But Trip was just a brief. I just wanted to see what it'd be like to try an Echo Knight. Very fun. Very fun. Highly recommend. Then I played Who and Dog, an Owlin Drake Warden Ranger Rogue multiclass. Mostly Ranger, just a couple levels of Rogue. Dog is by Drake Warden, and then Who was the Owlin. And again, 2 tokens, awesome. The tanky large Drake would be my melee person, go in, and then the little Ranger is just hiding in the shadows, shooting arrows, with sharpshooter and sneak attack, doing a lot of damage. At level 16, I was doing 70, 80 damage per round just with arrows, which is pretty good for a half-caster. And the table initially said that the who puns were going to get stale, but they were wrong. It killed every time. Every time. Everyone was sad when I retired Who to bring back Pinch. Actually, Who abandoned the party and stole something from them, but that's not important. They still loved him, even though he stole from the group and abandoned them in the middle of the night. And so, in summary, despite this Dungeon of the Mad Mage's adventure as a boring dungeon delve, a fun table can make any campaign fun. And high-level D&D powers sure are fun to unleash, but the slog of Tier 4 play, it just isn't worth it. I much prefer every tier below this one to Tier 4.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. I'm glad I didn't have to spend 4 years to prove that.
Well, we weren't at 20th level the whole time.
um, I'm amazed. I'm impressed that you had a 4-year long run. That's fantastic. I think 2 years is the longest. Well, I guess not back in AD&D. I had a long run, but that was, we were still in high school and college, so we had lots of free time. But yeah, as an adult, 2 years has been my longest run.
Yeah, this is definitely the longest campaign that I've played in. I've run campaigns that were close to this length, but yeah, the longest campaign I've been in with the same core people. We've had like the same 4 people, and then we've had people drift in and out over the years, but it's like the same. The core has been mostly the same since very early on, which is really cool.
Mr. Vincent has an interesting question. Are there any games where high level play isn't a slog?
10 level games, in my
Right.
experience.
Yeah. So what is that? Shadow of the Weird Wizard, Shadow Dark, Shadow of the Demon Lord. They're basically the Shadow of the Weird Wizard, Shadow of the Demon Lord, same game. Is 13th Age only 10 levels?
I don't have a ton of experience with 13 Age, other than like watching like Cliff Notes versions of it. OSE, I mean, you can like go on from there, but it's kind of understood.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels like 10 levels is the sweet spot. Like, I don't think games need more than 10 levels. I think that's my answer to that question.
Mike, yeah, I would do another 4-year campaign with these guys. It was fun. We were all kind of strangers when we met, but we're all friends now, so that's cool.
Yeah.
I think two things that don't get talked enough about. One, the camaraderie that comes from having these like there's part of your brain that doesn't know that this intense experience you're having with these people is fantastical, right?
Mhm.
And it's the same like the reason your brain stem shuts off when you're dreaming is because the rest of your brain is just like, nope, this is real. So like some of my best friends are from D&D because we've been through crazy shit together. And the fact that crazy shit was happening while we were sitting in chairs eating Doritos, like, nope, still the camaraderie is there, has been built through those experiences. 2, it wasn't even a 1 to 20 campaign. And Jim is here to celebrate an incredible accomplishment that like a lot of people just take for granted. Walking in the door, they think like, oh yeah, sure, we'll go to level 20. 4 years. 4 years of adults meeting weekly. And well, I don't know. You started before the pandemic? If it's 4 years? I've lost track of all time. It's 1998 in my brain still. But
It was during. It was like 2021.
So oh, sorry, Ryan, finish your point.
No, it's just that is huge, and I think people like setting that as like the gold standard. I don't even think it should be. It's almost like the expectation set going into like we're gonna go 1 to 20, and like I started off like early on my channel like very often saying, well, no, you're not. And like accept that and move on, and like that's a good thing. It's fine. Play a one shot. You can do so much more and deal with so much less heartbreak. I've seen so many players that never get to their big backstory character reveal because they were waiting, or they were waiting for their stupid 17.3 build that they got from Reddit to come online. You want to play a janky character for 3.5 years to like have your capstone ability come online in the final boss fight? No, stop, guys. 5-6 sessions. End it. Have a good time. And just aspire one day maybe you could be like Jim.
Yeah. Well, I have that same level of camaraderie with some of the guys that I've been playing with for the last 4 years, right? But we haven't run a 4-year straight campaign. Like we've done 2-year-long runs and a couple of 6-month runs. But we've been playing. We did a bunch of one shots in there too, and one campaign that didn't get off the ground. But we've been playing together for 4 years. The core group that comes to my table on Thursday night, and so I have that camaraderie with them. But yeah, so you don't necessarily have to go 1 to 20 to have that camaraderie, but just playing with the same people over and over again. A lot of things we talked about, like why RPGs are healthy and good for your brain, right? And good for your social skills that we talked about last week. That's what's so useful about having, a consistent group of people to spend time with every week.
Um, yeah. Oh, not sure. I'll get to your comment in just a second. But one thing, we're this in a 4-year campaign, level 5 to 20 is really grueling. None of us are on our first PC. We're all on PC number 3 or 4. And we had at one point, this is very clever. I like what our dungeon master did is we had a TPK at level 16. Um, just a mess. It was real bad, real ugly. Everyone was upset. It was real ugly. Everyone was mad. We came back with all new PCs, and what he did was instead of just he said, "I want you to make your PCs at level 3. Make your new PCs at level 3." He goes, "Make your 16th level PCs and make another one that's level 3." And so when we came back, he didn't just drop us right back in there as like adventurers going to find out what happened to the last adventurers. He started us in this kind of gauntlet where we had a big major level 3 boss fight with all our PCs, and then we leveled up to 6, and he let us each like get a magic item from the ones we said that we wanted, from our level 16 PCs. Like, all right, now you can have one magic item. We level 3, 6, 9, 12, then 16 over a period of like 6 weeks. He let us slowly work out our party dynamics and learn our characters from basically, like a sped up level 3 to level 16 campaign over just a few weeks. That was like a simulation inside it's not important. But I thought that was really clever because he could have just dropped us right back in there with level 16 characters, and it would have been chaos for a month while we all figured out all of our feats and our magic items and which things are attuned and which things regenerate on a short rest and a long rest and all that stuff. But so he eased us in a way that was fun, and I won't go into details, but did tie into the larger overall plot of the adventure. And I thought that was good. So high level, you have a high level TPK, that's steal that.
Noted.
Good
I
stuff.
will.
Good stuff.
Because, you give someone a new class at level 16, level 12, they're going to be like, I forgot half of the things I was supposed to do. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. Real quick to kind of come back to that question of like what games are good for high level play. Twin Steel mentions Nimble. Does Nimble have 20 levels? Or is Nimble a 10 level game?
It originally sat on 5e, so conceptually it was built for 20, but I don't have the new one in my... Actually, no, I do have the new one. I can go find it, but he knows best. He made the thing.
And then Mr. Vincent says he wants a game where you can unleash the whole gamut. I feel like Daggerheart does that. I feel like Daggerheart to me feels like you're doing a hell of a lot, even at low levels.
Drawsteel's very much like that too. Drawsteel, you have a large pool of powers from level 1, and then the pool doesn't increase that much. Like Daggerheart, one of the things that they do is they have the loadout, so you can only have 5 cards. So whether that's not a problem until you're like level 3 or 4 and you get up to 5 cards, but past that, then you have to choose your loadout. So you'll never have, even if you're level 10, you're not going to have 10 cards you have to shuffle through every time.
But you always feel powerful. Like that was
Right.
what I noticed about Daggerheart is like even at the low levels, you still felt like you were doing something.
And what I hear Drawsteel also it's that because level 1 D&D, you're not a superhero by design. And I think that's fine, but I think some gamers don't like that. World of Warcraft, it used to take you a long time to level up your character. Now you can do it just like that, right? I don't play WoW, but from what I hear, like, people found grinding annoying. So they're like, well, get rid of grinding. How about that? You could just instantly be like all the way up to the top level, which defeats the whole freaking point of a leveling game. But so, Nacho, you mentioned this interview with Professor DM. Well, that is the next thing we're going to talk about. Boom, segue nailed. So yeah, in that interview, I thought that was very enlightening where he said Vox Machina was the second campaign he's ever finished, because the second campaign he ever finished was on screen, and we all watched it, and we all thought, look at this master dungeon master executing his craft. I bet he's done this a dozen times, had these final boss fights. And no, he'd like never done it before.
Yeah.
But so Professor DM interviewed Mark Mercer and Travis Willingham. It's a dropout joke from the D&D on a bus. And over a very long interview, he started off, we love Professor Dungeon Master. He asked them the hard-hitting questions that all the stupid people have been asking of Critical Role for years. He said, does WotC pay you to play Dungeons and Dragons? And they said no.
That was like he didn't even butter him up. That was just the
Yeah.
opener. It
Yeah.
was just cold. Hit him with that.
He said, if Critical Role is not scripted, why do you have staff writers? And they said, they write our ad copy, basically. You know, they have interstitials, they have things getting you to try to subscribe. People write ad copy for that. And then the main thing, why did they choose 5e over Daggerheart? And what they said was exactly what the three of us have been saying, which was that the decision was made a long time ago. And they didn't want to change things for Brennan.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the other aspect was they love Daggerheart and they want to celebrate and grow and expand Daggerheart, but they didn't want to, do too much with Daggerheart too early. Which are, like you said, those are exactly the things we speculated, right?
Yeah.
And that's really interesting to me. And I don't know if it's like a political markety answer or if it's genuine, but either way, the idea of they're not defining and therefore limiting what Daggerheart can be, 3-4 months after its conception,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, it's in effect them getting out of the way, because there are big names running Daggerheart for their next runs. Legends of Adventures is doing a Daggerheart campaign, and if Critical Role was simultaneously or first, you actually might see less freedom for other people, let alone people in the game shop, but like people on your screen, they're getting out of the way and letting other people run with it is actually nice, is admirable. I think it's actually smart creatively for them. And maybe it's not necessarily the best, business acumen to make those choices, which they admit in that interview. Like, sure, like I can understand sitting in the stands, like, yeah, maybe it would have been better for the business, but we were mostly considering the 15 people who are going to be playing this game on camera, and their comfort level and their ability to literally perform. So yeah, I thought it was a great interview. There was a spot, I think it was in like the question of like, why do you have writers, or like, is it scripted? And Mercer straight up was like, yeah, I just like, I feel sorry for what other people are dealing with at their tables if that's the way they feel. Like, if they feel like our bananas off the rails, just like improv thing is manufactured, then like, can't imagine what's going on at their table. And like, the perfect answer.
Yeah.
All tea, no shade.
But yeah, I think we said this on camera too. You don't want to sacrifice your best product because it feels like the best thing to do for another product, right? Their best product is Critical Role. That is what put them on the map. What is their cash cow? You don't want to sabotage the success of Critical Role because it's the best thing for Daggerheart, right? Because even though Daggerheart's doing great, it's not making as much money as Critical Role is.
Right.
And so that was speculation. I'm sure we talked about somewhere on camera, and the many times we discussed it, because I know we've had that conversation. And yeah, it just that actually makes more business sense to me, right?
Right. The ultimate takeaway that we want you to absorb from this is that we were right. That's the important takeaway. If you remember nothing else from this discussion, we were right, and we said so. All right, moving on. The next thing that we do is a little part of the show that we call the catch up, where we tell you to go subscribe to the Landlocked Warlocks YouTube channel. We've got a lot of great stuff on there, a lot of actual plays. Daggerheart actual play. Apparently, I'm hearing Darrington Press has been highlighting certain Daggerheart actual plays on YouTube and blogging about them. Hey, Darrington, we got a 4-part Daggerheart actual play. That's amazing. Did I just cast suggestion? I don't know what I did. Darrington, reach out to us. Yeah, give us the clicks. Give us the clicks. So what do you guys got going on? Brad, what you got going on?
I am working on the next phase of my YouTube experience. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes right now. I don't know how ready I am to talk about it yet, but there are things in the works. And any of you out there have noticed that I have not been uploading videos all summer, and that's probably not gonna change anytime soon. But at some point, I will be back on YouTube. I will be doing something different, maybe significantly different than what I was doing with Dire Den. There will probably be some more Dire Den content to come as a way to help make that transition.
He is also making pins.
Ryan, what you got going on?
It's also been kind of a rebuilding era this summer over here at the Vertigo table. And I've been spending the last week or so. There's a whiteboard I can't show you, but like there's master plans for like Q4. And a lot of that is built around or at least the beginning of that is built around the starter set. So a lot of people, if you know who I am, it's because I helped you run the last starter set. So I'm gonna do it again. I've been thinking a lot about it. And in actual play news, I'm gonna run these fellas and a couple of our other friends through it. And I got some big ideas actually that I'm gonna graft onto it, which I would like to discuss with you guys in a sec if we can.
I also have a whiteboard. Just out of view that has some of my YouTube plans on it. I really like the whiteboard way better. Whiteboard makes you feel like a mad scientist. Typing on a keyboard in a OneNote document, not so much. You got to have actual, you got to swipe that marker and go X out this and cross it. It really actually helps sell it. I've also had kind of a lazy September. My unboxing video did pretty well. It was weird. I released it on a Thursday afternoon instead of a Sunday morning, and so it didn't like take off till Friday evening, which was weird. Usually, I'm used to my videos like they get the views they're gonna get right away, and then peters out. But because of all these critical announcements, all my crit roll videos have been doing well. Yeah, I know whenever crit roll announces something because like I see a big spike in comments on certain videos, like. Quinn's Quest put out a Triangle Agency video, and all of a sudden I had a bunch of Triangle comments on my Triangle Agency video. I was like, what's happened? Why is everybody watching Triangle Agency? I was like, oh, it's the Quinn's Quest bump.
Is there a moment where like some part of your brain is like, what, like, uh-oh? Like, is it like scary to you? Like, does it trigger like that like fight or flight? Just like, something happened. Why am I having success right now? Is that just me?
Yeah, for sure. So moving on, next on our agenda is something I don't know. Ryan has a mystery topic for us to discuss today.
Yes. Okay. So the starter set, I think the most interesting and perhaps flimsiest pillar of the starter set is that you can change who's DMing. And I think for an actual play series, maybe that is harder to do and not great, especially when you've invited a bunch of people to play because you're running a thing and then surprise, no, you're going to run a lot of it. Didn't feel fair. So I am thinking this time around, because no one in our group is starting from zero. The training wheels are not necessary. I'm going to have everyone build a level 1 character. And you get to play that level 1 character for that first session. The next session, you have to play someone else's character.
Hmm.
So you're making your character, one, without being too attached and being able to let it go. Two, making sure you hit all those beats and not save them for level 18 or whatever that you're never going to see. You got to get it all out there. And three, in however you interpret that, you are building a character that next week someone else is going to be playing, which is maybe the most interesting and fun part for me. And then I think the homebrew rule is if your character dies, you get to make a new one. So if you get stuck with a real clunker, you can commit suicide and then build the character that you wanted to play, at least for that session. And then again, now that goes into the pool. So it might be totally harebrained. There's definitely some like cost. Peter, congratulations. Everyone, if you have not heard us gush all last week about, and the week before, about how awesome Tales from Elsewhere is, go back it. Also, Homie and the Dude, Scorched Basin, also great. Go check them out. Both Kickstarters. So yeah, is that insane? Is that insane? I'm very careful to like experiment with things before I talk about them on the internet. I'm throwing that out the window today. I thought of this in the shower, and I'm like, that could be cool or awful. And now I open it up to you all to chat. I'm also curious what you have to think.
I like it. I'll do it.
Yeah, you like that? Is this something, or is it ridiculous?
Well, let me just say thanks to Mr. Vincent for the compliment in the chat. So I'm still trying to figure this out. So this is when we're running, you're going to run the new box set, and the players are our usual crowd.
Yes, assuming everybody shows up. I think it's going to be a little less marchy because it's the problem with a one-shot club is that sometimes things take longer than a week to finish. So yeah, I can foresee people coming and going over the course of, let's say it's 3 to 5 sessions.
Gotcha. And so we basically, after the first session, I could grab Mike's character, Jim could grab my character, right? Stephanie could grab, my character, whatever. Yeah, that could be interesting. Would it be confusing to the audience?
Yes.
So that's a valid question. The other thing I think, just from a scheduling thing, if Stephanie's there week 1 and she's not there week 2, and somebody else is there instead, then somebody's going to be playing a character they didn't get to see the last time, and I'm worried they might be missing out on the joke for that person.
Valid. So we'll force them to sit through the actual play before they play. That will be their prep. Because we are recording it. And okay, so maybe I should preface this by saying that the reason I was considering not running the starter set for us, which I did before it was in my hands, is that it's very bare bones. There is no through line. It's very sandboxy. There's not a lot of meat on the bone. And my initial reaction is that, okay, for experienced players, this might actually be a little disappointing. But after further reflection, I think leaning into that aspect frees you up to do other things. So if this were a more traditional actual play story with like a beginning, middle, and an end, like, yeah, we're sacrificing that by swapping characters, but this without the DM doing a lot of work, which is valid work, right? I think a lot of people are going to do that. And like in my guide, maybe I'll talk about how you maybe do that, but taking it as it is, that's not there from the jump. There is no through line. It's kind of just modular to the point where there's not enough connective tissue. So I think that actually frees you up to like, you don't have this grand narrative arc. So what you do have are bits.
Well, Joy brings up an interesting point. Are we going to be using the pre-made characters from the box set? Are we making our own characters?
So I was going to have you. So you build the characters. The box set doesn't have pre-mades so much as modular
Templates.
pre-mades. It's a little confusing
It's
and
kind of
hard to.
template like, right? You take the
Yes.
fighter card, and use it like a template, and you add other cards to it to just like make it a
Yeah.
dwarf and make it a cobbler background or whatever.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So also house rule all cobblers. So yeah, I think it's enticing for you to make your own character. As an experienced player, you're not deriving benefits from the ease of use. Like you guys can fire up D&D Beyond to bang out a character and not be confused. And that opens it up to, I don't know, making more interesting characters, right? Like, do you min-max when you know you're going to hand it off to somebody else?
Yeah. I mean, it would be a fun experiment. Like, I'm down for it. I'm just wondering if to make it less confusing to an audience, could we do some sort of like art for each character?
Sure. Yeah. We'll do like tokens. Maybe we need hats. Although the shipping costs of sending hats across the country every week maybe wouldn't work.
or colors. I mean, we can just
colors.
It's just a matter of t-shirt, right?
I think this is just the kind of wacky experimentation that the One Page One Shot Club was built for. Yeah.
And like I'm open to it being awful. Like it might be a terrible idea.
Yeah, we would have some kind of way to differentiate, and even if it was confusing, maybe that would be part of the fun. There was an episode of NADPod, and I've done this at my own table. Had players switch character sheets, actually at the table, and then when they did this on NADPod, it was very confusing because they went another layer deep, where they switched again, and so it was players playing players playing players, and it didn't make any sense, but it was really fun. I mean, I don't understand what happened while they were role playing that, but it was so silly. It was very fun. And I had a similar experience at my table when I did that. It was like it fell apart after just a couple minutes. People were like, "This is crazy. We got to switch back." But it was fun. While they attempted it, it was mostly people doing, caricatures of each other, making fun of the way other people do their character voices.
That's the dream. It's like that episode of Warner Brothers where Bugs Bunny is doing his Donald Duck impression and Donald Duck is doing his Bugs Bunny impression. It's not going to be high art, but maybe we could get it there.
I think I said NADPod, but I believe that was on Dungeons and Daddies when they did that. They had a big switch. Also, there's a section on Dungeons and Daddies where they went into some dungeon and decided to play with the original rules. With 1E rules for like a section, and they all died. Well, stay tuned to the Landlocked Warlocks for that and other awesome actual plays coming your way. Unchilled Pity likes the idea. So the next thing that we're going to talk about, moving on, I discovered, I don't even remember where I found this, but Heritage Auctions has a bunch of classic D&D material, and I just like scrolling through to see how much this stuff costs. Like there's an original, where is it? Where's the box? Wood grain box. Current bid $5,250.
Man, I wish I had kept all my old stuff. That's crazy.
Yeah, Tomb of the Lizard King at $300. Just Gods, Demigods, and Heroes is only $35. Nobody wants that. Oh, I see it's graded at 5.5, which is probably why. Dragonlance. This grading stuff is such a scam. I have a whole bunch of old Garbage Pail Kid cards that might be worth money, but if I have them sent in to be graded, I could lose a whole bunch of money having them graded. So I don't know what to do. Because if they're not worth anything, then I'll be out hundreds of dollars for the grading. Which is not how business is supposed to work. Yep.
This arrived on my birthday, which Jim did not know.
Did it?
Still doesn't know, actually, what my birthday is, but it arrived on my birthday. I was like, This is nice but creepy. What's
No kidding. Happy birthday.
There was also no note. It was wrapped up
Yeah.
in like loose leaf paper, and like I could only decipher through the return address. It was straight up like, all right, this is some serial killer shit. I don't know what I'm looking at here. You're just standing in my driveway with a garbage pail gift card, like, someone watching me right now? What's
If I had known it was your birthday, Ryan, I would have taken the time to cut out letters from a magazine and write the happy birthday in the kidnapper font.
It was better just without any commentary, just like,
That's too much.
who do I know in Colorado who would do this?
I figured I had been talking to you guys about Garbage Pail Kids right before that, so I assumed you. Brad, didn't I send you one?
You send me one?
I think I may have not have found a Brad.
Oh no, did I? I wasn't supposed to share. It's cool. Brad got invited. We didn't. Was this? No, this was not on the air. Brad got invited to a party that we were not invited to, and I was jelly for reasons.
Are you talking about the spicy D&D? I think that was on air.
I think that was after, but it's a thing that exists in the world. They put it on the internet, so it's not like a secret. But yeah. Brad got invited to the sexy server, and I did not get an invite to the orgy. I don't know if I should take that personally or what. Not hanging out in the right places. Oh, this is how I won't be here next week. This is where the FCC gets me now.
Oh, but I mean, back to the topic. It's crazy to see how all this old stuff is still out there and people are shelling out the money for it. Like, nostalgia is an awesome thing, and collectors are, a unique breed. I kind of hate that I went through this, like, I don't know, probably 10-year stage in my life where I was like, I don't need shit. Like, I was very minimalist for a long time, and it's like nothing was sacred to me. I just got rid of shit every time I moved. Yeah, and somewhere in one of those moves, I got rid of all my D&D stuff. I hate that I did that because I had a huge collection of first edition, second edition books and modules, and
This is here's a D&D module I've never heard of. 5 coins for a kingdom, levels 28 to 32. I've never heard of this one before. I didn't know that was possible.
Yeah,
Have you heard of 5 coins for a kingdom?
I have not, but the fact that it's that high a level says it's for BECME, right? BECME and the rules cyclopedia that was, a condensed version of or like combined version of the BECME stuff, had that high level play. That is a great adventure. Is the worst art on any cover of any adventure module.
That's kind of
in
endearing.
existence.
Just disagree.
I'm actually, that module, that Assassin's Knot, is in the current sandbox that I'm running. Secret of Bone Hill, Assassin's Knot, and Deep Dwarven Delve are all in the sandbox that I'm currently running.
And if anybody's watching this and doesn't have $500 to spend on an old module, the PDF prices are much more reasonable, guys.
And a lot of the stuff on Drive-Thru RPG you can get print on demand, and it still looks good.
So, moving on, if you don't have that money to spend, the last thing we're going to talk about on the show is I discovered this show on Netflix called Crime Scene Zero. It is a Korean reality game show along the lines of The Devil's Plan. But what The Devil's Plan did for board games, Crime Scene kind of does for role-playing games, because I just tuned this on because I watch a lot of these Korean shows, and then the very first thing it said, this is a role-playing game. They actually describe it in the intro as a role-playing game. It's basically like a reality show crime scene investigation. There's a fake crime, and there's a group of contestants who go around, try to put together the clues, etc. So it's like Werewolf, but everyone is playing a role. So each person was like in the first one, there's a dead body, and it was like, oh, I was the victim's doctor, and I was on my way here to make a house call. That's my alibi. And the other person is like the victim's boyfriend. Then there's the victim. Then there's like the janitor who works in the building. And so these just regular people are playing these roles. And I don't know if this has happened on TV before. Am I missing something obvious?
I've never seen anything like this before. They're basically like LARPing
Yeah,
a game
like
of Clue.
it's Cluedo LARP.
It makes me think of The Devil's Plan, which is another Korean show. There's like one episode where they do kind of something similar, like a werewolfy political intrigue sort of thing. So my experience with this is that Jim recommended it, and I've been campaigning to get my wife, who likes Korean stuff but not actual plays, to watch this for the last like 4 or 5 days. And it's okay; she doesn't watch the show, at least not this deep into it, or at all. But right before we hit start, Jim said like, "Yeah, I've been watching it, and it's LARP and Order Korea."
It's good.
Thank you, Nacho. That's
There
good.
you go.
Very good, Nacho. Very good.
Junk. We make sure we hit the stringer today. What the hell was I saying? Oh, it's into
Lying to your wife.
No, it's strategy. Okay, I'm not lying. I'm withholding information
Deceiving.
to get her
Is
to
that-
do what I
Is
want.
that more palatable? Deceiving.
Manipulating.
Manipulating, yes. And it turns out, as we were going into it, Jim was like, "Yeah, I watched the first 10 minutes. It's not that good." I was like, "Wow, I'm putting in so much effort to watch the show. I thought it was like endorsed by Jim."
That I explained why. There's a reason why I turned it off. I was already knee deep in another show that I had to get back to, so I may go return to Crime Scene Zero later. Probably not, because Alice in Borderland new season's coming out soon, and this show I'm watching is many seasons, so I don't know. No promises.
And new Stranger Things is coming out soon too. So.
Stranger Things is coming out too.
So much stuff. There's so much stuff out there.
Yeah.
That's the one good thing about our world these days. Is there's a lot of stuff to distract us from.
And boy, do we need it.
Yes.
All right, so I think we're about to wrap things up here.
There's a lot of circuses in our bread and circuses.
Indeed, not nearly enough bread, too many circuses, is what I say. I don't even know really what that means. The philosophers can figure that out later in future generations when they study the show. So, but what we want to say is that we love you. Thanks for watching. These are strange times right now. Take care of yourselves and be kind to people who disagree with you. And from all of us here, and thank you very much. From all of us here at Landlocked Warlocks, we will see you later.